There is no better than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own lesson on how to improve your performance. And under Pep Guardiola, that will begin tonight in our Premier League match against Southampton. He's sure of it. I'm sure of it. We go again. And so to lighten the mood tonight, I couldn't have picked two better guests, two of the most positive and optimistic City legends that I know. So joining me tonight on We're Not Really Here is Shaun Goater and Andy Morrison. Good evening, gents. Can't wait to speak to them both. But it is, of course, straight away into the all-important team news for you. So what changes, if any, might there be from the weekend? Who's going to be starting? Let's find out now. So, in goal tonight is Ederson. We then have a back four of Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Aymeric Laporte and Alexander Zinchenko. Moving into midfield, Fernandinho, Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan. And then looking up to the forward line, we think, is Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden and Riyad Mahrez. And then looking at the bench tonight, which in itself is an incredible team, is Stefan, Stones, Sterling, Jesus, Aguero, Rodri, Torres, Mendy and Cancelo. So that is your team news for tonight's kickoff, 6 p.m. against Southampton. So good evening again, everybody. I'm Natalie Pike, and as mentioned, I am joined on the sofas tonight by genuine, real legends that are Shaun Goater and Andy Morrison. And honestly, when I saw it was you both tonight, I was so happy because you are the most positive and optimistic legends that we have, which I think is perfect for tonight, Andy. But straight away, let's get into this team news. When I'm looking at the team to start with, my first thought is, who's playing the false nine tonight? What do you think?
I have no idea at this moment in time. We've obviously seen Kevin De Bruyne play that role. Foden's drifted into there. I think Mahrez will be set on that right. But no, it'll be a rotation between the lot of them and maybe popping in and out of that 9 position. But I don't think there'll be anybody with a clear identity to be, an old-fashioned 9.
Yeah, we do, and I say it time and time again on this show, spend the first 5-10 minutes working out who's playing where, but then I agree with you. I think throughout the game we're going to see the switching around. Is that what you think in terms of up front tonight, Shaun?
Yeah, I would agree with Andy, but if I was to stick my head a little bit further out, I would probably say that KDB, De Bruyne, maybe the one. I'm only saying this because when we've seen him play, we were talking off air, Kevin De Bruyne has played absolutely superb up there as a number 9 and able to sort of drop and get involved in midfield and then appear back there. But Andy's absolutely right. The other players will at times, Foden and Mahrez, will end up in number 9 position as a centre forward, and we'll sit there and think, is he the wide player? Why is he in the number 9 position? The rotation is just so brilliant in how the players work it. So. But again, a really strong team. I'm excited when I look at this team. I'm excited because I know these players will be wanting to get back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And a player there that stands out for me starting tonight is Phil Foden, who just continues to just have an incredible season. Obviously, he hasn't started the last couple of games, Shaun, so he is going to be really chomping at the bit tonight, isn't he?
He is. And, what I love about Foden is he brings energy, he brings quality, and he brings a goal threat. So, again, out of possession, he will pressure like there's no tomorrow. If a ball's 10 yards away, 15 yards away, if he's the nearest, he will go and apply that pressure and start to dictate as to where that player goes. In possession, I'm loving him because he has the ability to go across 1 or 2 players and be creative. And he's now got this confidence in that final third where he knows he can produce goals. So I'm really excited to see, Stockport's Iniesta playing tonight.
Always. And Andy, if we're looking there towards the defence, we sort of continuing the sort of changes that we're having in the defence due to the fact about how good all the players are. So tonight we're seeing the Diaz-Laporte partnership. I think we tried to force you last time you were on into picking your favourite 2 centre-backs, and I think you very kindly went around about. Are you still happy with the fact that the 3 of them are great and we'll just keep rotating them?
I think so, yeah. There's a definite pattern. Cancelo is the one who drifts inside to create, a kind of 2-man block out of possession of the ball. But, it's always when Walker plays, then Walker, Diaz, Laporte become the 3 with great balance. Laporte, obviously, with his left foot, and then Zinchenko creates the overload in midfield. So I expect that to be clear. Basically out of possession, it'll drift into a 4, but in possession, it is a definite 3. With almost at times it feels like a box midfield of 2 10s and 2 6s in old numbers, but yeah, the patterns are the same, and I can't stick my neck out because obviously I'm a big fan of Stones, and Laporte was magnificent in his initial period, and then Diaz has been a revelation. So the 3 of them, to be able to pick 2 from 3. And then obviously when Walker gives in there, we got that sheer pace and power for the turnover. Yeah, it's a great balance. And yeah, we're very lucky to have 3 very top centre-halves.
Yeah, and when we're looking at kind of perhaps the players that have dropped down to the bench today, again in that kind of rotation that we're having, you look at Cancelo, who has just been a real standout player for me this season. Can play obviously on the right, can play on the left. Do you think in this case again it's just rotation? It's just giving them a rest?
Without a shadow of doubt, yeah. I mean, we're looking at that bench, and it's quite remarkable the quality that's on there. And the names, and they've all played a huge part this season, all played a pivotal part, and we're still fighting on 4 fronts. Players want to play, and they'll always say that. There's no fatigue when you're winning games of football. Everybody wants to be part of it, but to be able to take Foden out for a couple of games and then bring him back in with that energy again. I thought when he came on at the weekend, I really thought he was dangerous. His energy and his desire, and also his passion with the connection with the club in such a big game. So again, he'll be chomping at the bit tonight to get out there and say to the manager, don't leave me out of the weekend. I want to stay in this team.
And as you say, we're just blessed that we've got so many world-class players there to choose from as well. I just want to have a quick word, Sean, around it. Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan. Obviously, while Kevin De Bruyne was injured, Ilkay Gundogan was absolutely in the form of his life, his best form. Premier League Player of the Month. Scoring insane number of goals. Then Kevin De Bruyne has come back in, and does it feel? Am I being negative if I say it feels like they're kind of working out how they do it together now, or what do you think?
No, they understand how they've played a number of games together. They totally understand. I think what we saw was a one-off situation. I think Gundogan again knows how to operate that role, and he's right in what he says. City sometimes actually play where it's like two 6s when the fullback goes alongside the holding midfielder, and then we're talking about Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne. These 2 will be almost like 2 10s, and Gundogan is so good at playing that role. He plays it differently from the point of being able to appear, making those runs between two centre backs, or between a centre back and a fullback, and again his ability to receive balls, right foot, set it for the left, or receive it with the left, set it for the right, and finish it. So I think it was one of those situations where he was just off his game, but we'll see this combination of these 2 come back tonight.
Good. I can't wait. And the last combination I just wanted to talk about before we sort of look ahead to the game tonight is the Bernardo Silva-Mahrez partnership, which I think when they've played together has worked. I call it a partnership. It's not really a partnership, but when they've played together, they seem to connect so well, and they seem to really bring out the best in each other. Have you kind of noticed that as well, Andy?
Well, obviously they're familiar with each other. The training, the games, the patterns, the roles, and there's, for me, when we watch them within the structure, there seems to be freedom there, but I think there's still a lot of structure and detail, the runs they make. So they'll obviously know if he breaks inside, there'll be movements on the outside, there'll be overlaps. It's not off the cuff. This is trained on. This is down to the finest detail. And I think whoever plays in there, I do think they know the roles, responsibilities, the positions you have to pick up to try and pick up the line of an opposing player to create a space somewhere else. The detail's huge in what City do. So I think anyone that goes in there. But yes, I think the balance with the 2 left footers, I think they work really well together. And I'm really pleased to see Bernardo, because I'm a huge fan of his energy, the ground he covers. I think he covers more ground in a game than any other player last year. for City. When he played, his stats were huge. So he's big because he starts things off. You know, we talk about Foden and his press, but nobody works harder than Bernardo. And his anticipation and timing is very, very good. Hopefully we'll see that tonight because you know, they're pretty good in their midfield area at second balls, and you know, that's a part of the game as well that you wouldn't attribute to City, that playing for them balls off the front men, but Bernardo and Gundogan as well, exactly the same. They read the game very well, and that turnover in possession to win the ball back very quickly. We've got players that can read the game very well as well.
I love it when you're on the show, Andy, and you talk about the team news, because you always talk about the patterns, and you can really see the manager head in you coming out while you're talking about it, and I love it. So at half-time and full-time, we're going to get your analysis, and you can educate me again on all the patterns that are there tonight. And of course, playing Southampton tonight, 6 p.m. kickoff, a little bit earlier than usual tonight, so hopefully you've got in and had your tea all right. Shaun, Southampton have had a bit of a strange season. Started really well, then they went on this awful run, and then at the weekend they got a win against Sheffield United, which was their first win in 10 games. What have you made of their season to be so up and down?
Yeah, well, it's exactly that, up and down, and I can't quite figure it out, because I actually watched them from a learning point, because as you said, early part they were doing really well, and their team that looked to play the ball through the third, you know, out of defence into midfield. Ward-Prowse, he's one that sort of is only base, but then he flows forward with the movement, and as the team's moving forward, I just love how they move the ball around, and their structure is, guys are in positions. There's not as much interchanging as City, but I really like what I see. So for me, they got their work cut out, but I'm intrigued in this game, because when Southampton are on their game, they can pose a problem.
Yeah, they've definitely got some really great talented players scattered about. Andy, we're going to get to team news in a second from Southampton, but from what you know of them, who are the key players that you're going to be looking out for in this team?
Well, obviously, Che Adams gives them a great outlet. You know, again, we talked about who's our 9. It'll be clear in the Southampton team. He'll be the highest player. He'll give them a focal point to try and get out from the deep press. They'll try and get players close to him. Redmond plays off him very well. Obviously, Ward-Prowse on all set plays, and then they're very dangerous on set plays. They're 2 huge centre halves, and the delivery is excellent from Ward-Prowse. And Shaun spoke about it a minute ago. You know, I do believe that they are a team, though, that are the momentum they had earlier in the season, and then it turned and the defeats, and they couldn't stop that pattern. And you know, they took great plaudits earlier in the season in the way they played. People were talking about playing through the lines, but also the press and the energy. That was a high press and a lot of work, and it was huge detail in what they did as well through the manager. But I think when it started to go against them, then I think maybe the depth of their squad, and again, we look at our bench, and I just don't been able to refresh it week after week. I don't think they were able to do that, and probably they come up a bit short in that area.
Yeah, and we're really blessed right now to have a fully fit squad. Southampton certainly aren't. Danny Ings and Theo Walcott are both injured, so you won't be seeing them on the team sheet, and numerous others as well. But let's have a look at the starting 11 for Southampton. So you can see they're in goal is McCarthy, Stevens, Vestergaard, Bednarek, Salisu, Bertrand, Ward-Prowse, Armstrong, Genepo, Redmond, and up top there, like Andy says, it's Che Adams. So there's one player on that starting team sheet that I am surprised not to see, and it's the young player Teller, Shaun. I don't know if you've seen much of him yet, but he played at the weekend, and the Southampton fans were absolutely raving about him. He doesn't start tonight. Do you think that's more? They might be going for more experience, obviously playing against us.
Well, yeah, that would be exactly it. I mean, they'll need to stay in the game. They'll want to stay in the game. And make no mistake, Southampton will want to come and win. I think the manager has that much confidence in himself, in his tactics, and in the players that he'll want to come here and not just say, oh, we've got a draw, we've come for a draw. So I think it's tactically playing that if the game's going according, here's a youngster they could bring on that could give him some experience, but could potentially change the game because he's an exciting player as well.
And when we played them in December, it was a tough game. You know, we were starting to get into our great run of form, and I think it was 1-0, but it was a tough game, Andy, wasn't it? So they definitely have got it in them. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm sure there'll be a pickup from the result of the weekend. You know, they won't be coming into the run of form that City were in and still in. Coming here and without picking up that result, so there might be an edge of freedom for them tonight. not the pressure, because the 3 points against Sheffield United the weekend were huge. So, listen, it is about, and it's never disrespectful to the opposition anyway. It doesn't matter who they are. They're going to come and they're going to sit in, and they're going to try and stay in the game as long as they can. Limit them. You know, a lot of the teams, it's the errors they make. You know, the team that make the least mistakes tend to stay in the games against us. It's their mistakes that we punish very quickly from that high area that we're in when we win the ball back. So yeah, there is no easy games in the Premier League, and you know, these ones. I think tonight I expect City to win the game, but as always, it'll be down to the quality of our finishing, because we will create again 4 or 5 good chances in the first half. We take 2 of them, it'll be an easy evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the highlights there from the last game, what a cracking goal that was as well. I'd forgotten how great that goal was. I often say, Shaun, that I love watching fan videos on YouTube of the opposition that we're playing, just to kind of see what the other team's fans are thinking. And I watched the Southampton video today, and obviously they won at the weekend, first time in 10, as we've said. So these fans were talking about, well, we don't want this to just be a one-off now. We want that to be the kick of momentum, and they were actually fancying themselves to get a result here tonight.
I can understand that, because again, when I've seen Southampton play well, I sit here and I think, well, they're playing as good a football as a lot of teams, in terms of not for a consistent 90 minutes, but you see periods in the game and you think, for that 20 minutes, they were really mind-blowing. And it's for them, can they put together that 90 minutes? And so I could see and understand why the Southampton fans are thinking, yeah, I know it's Man City, I know they're playing the football that they're playing, but we could potentially go there and get a result. I think there's a lot of belief, because, again, I watch them because I feel that I can learn from watching them as a manager, because, again, I think when they've been playing well, they've done some really exciting stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Ralph Hasenhuttl, what do you make of him yourself, with your manager's head on again, Andy? What do you make of the job he's doing?
He's done fantastic, and again, we talked about adversity earlier on, and you know, when you look at the 9-0 result last year and the response from that and the run they went afterwards, you know, his reaction and the team's reaction was magnificent, and I never really saw that in them at that time. You know, I think he's got a great reputation, and he has his own idea of playing the game, and it's very clear. You know, he believes in pressing, believes in keeping the ball, moving it through the thirds. Will he be able to do that tonight? I don't think so. But, you know, he's certainly been very impressive since he's come to the league. And again, sure, this is a really tough period he was in before the result of the weekend. But he doesn't seem to, you know, he seems to be unflappable. He doesn't get overexcited when they're winning. And, yeah, he's done a great job.
You mentioned the 9-0 there. Obviously, they had the 9-0 defeat this season against United, and the 9-0 defeat that they had last season as well. Pep was actually asked about it in his press conference, Shaun, and he sort of said, oh, yeah, we'll win 18-0 then, obviously taking the mick out of the fact that somebody had questioned that. But when you've had 2 9-0 defeats, do you think that stays in the back of your mind, or do you think that's gone for them now?
Well, I don't think that sort of enters. I mean, the biggest defeat I had was sort of a 6-0, but I don't think it sort of enters your mind until you're in a game and you're probably 4-0. They've created 2 or 3 other chances, and you think we could be 5 or 6 down. That's when it enters your mind, because you know the game is out of reach, and I think it's that time when players are thinking we could be on for an hammering. But in our time of playing, what I find which is different is, players, you know, lose a game 4-0, 6-0, 9-0, and there isn't no one having a go at anyone to say, you know, come on. Like if I'm losing 4-0, for me the game's over. So I'm thinking it's not about me trying to score or rescore 1. It's just keep it at 4. So my responsibility becomes about helping the defense and making sure we just defend. And if we can get the odd, you know, counter-attack, the odd set piece, then that's perhaps where a goal will come from. But these teams, when you see them lose 9-0, and you think, well, why is the centre forward still up the field? Why is he should be back thinking, no, I'm grafting in the midfield, and we're making it compact. We got 5 in midfield or 6 in midfield, whatever it takes to just say, well, listen, let's just, you know, bide this time now and until we create the odd opportunity.
I'm loving this kind of talk about adversity. I want to park that for a second. I want to talk about that more, but we've got a wonderful interview here from Alexander Zinchenko. And if you remember at the West Ham game this time last week, we had a lovely video of him. He'd brought a bag of dog treats and he was feeding the security dogs, which I still question. I'm not sure you're actually supposed to do. But that was an incredible night, a brilliant performance by us. And here he is again, Alexander Zinchenko feeding the security dogs. What a man. I love a man that loves animals.
Lost to Manchester United. And for you personally, the first time you've lost this season?
Honestly, the feeling is alright because we've got some points ahead of everyone, but we're still playing in all competitions, and of course, like we did some analysis about that game, but this can happen with everyone, So today we're just gonna try to show our performance again and to do it better and to get 3 points as well.
Was it almost a strange situation because 21 straight defeats is an English record, but you're down because of a defeat?
Yeah, it can happen with everyone. Like we said, we are not like robots. We are human beings, and so it's football. Especially Man United. They are a great team, of course, but we're gonna try to do another run. Why not?
What sort of game are you expecting this evening against Southampton, who are not completely safe as yet?
They're doing well this season, honestly, and we remember how tough it was to play against them away, and of course, these kind of teams they play really well from the back. They organize well defensively, but we're gonna try to create our chances and to score the goals.
Good luck to you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And that was the thoughts of Alexander Zinchenko. There's definitely some sort of feed the dog joke in there, some sort of chant that I could have done, but I've not got the confidence to pull that one off. But now we're going to hear the thoughts of our manager, Pep Guardiola.
Pep, after your magnificent 21-win game run came to an end, how have the boys been in training and around the camp?
That's good. That's normal. Lose games, win games is part of an entire year.
Do you expect any sort of reaction from them?
Always they react good. It doesn't matter the results, they react good in the good moments and bad moments.
You've made 5 changes from the weekend. Is that more about rotation than a reaction to the result?
Everybody try to be everybody involved. This is the reason why everybody try to play. Even with that, there are players that deserve to play that don't play. So sometimes I'm unfair for some of them.
What sort of game are you expecting from Southampton?
The real difficult one. I don't know, going to play 4 in the back like normal. They play with 4 central defenders, maybe they play with 5 in the back. Always was tough, they got quality, speed up front. We'll see.
So that was the thoughts of our manager, Pep Guardiola, ahead of tonight's 6 p.m. Premier League kickoff against Southampton. So the first question that he was asked there, probably fairly obvious, is how have the players been this week after that derby defeat at the weekend? And he said they've been fine. As a manager, what sort of reaction would you be expecting from your players after a defeat by your nearest neighbours?
Yeah, I think the key there is the actual, the team that we lost to. I think the run of games that City were on, the enthusiasm, the training, the levels, the standards, every single session would have been huge. So there won't be going into the United game would have been right at the top. The training would have been bang on, and it's a setback for one game. And I think the players would have come in. Yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, there's pride. Yes, it's the local derby, but there's still the ultimate professionals, so the preparation for this game tonight would have been no different to, I think, the patterns you'd have seen before. There will be no change. You're looking for a reaction after a few defeats or a bad run of results, not one game where, you were probably still the dominant team in that game, but sometimes in life it's not your day. You don't want that day to be your derby.
Yes, absolutely. I think we were all feeling it on that day, obviously ecstatic with the incredible run that we're on, but them, really? That's, how I certainly was feeling. But, Shaun, what do you think Pep said to his players sort of Monday morning, first training session in after that game? What does he say to them?
He says that game's over, it's done, we now go for another 21-game run. I think this is the mentality of the manager, I think the mentality of the players. These players, they don't lose often, so they will be hurting. Pep would not have had to say very much because they would have went home, and Andy would have been the same. When we played and had a defeat, I was going home and going over it in my head like, what could I have done differently, what I could have done better. And I think these guys, they're both perfectionists. This is how they're able to go 21 wins in a row, which is amazing. And they would have replayed their game in their head and went, next time, I know what I need to do. And what's exciting about tonight is they're thinking, we've got a game now to now start again.
It's been over a year now since we've lost back-to-back games, which is phenomenal. So obviously there is something, like you say, in their mentality where they lose a game and they go, nope, not again.
Yeah, and, if you look at the history with champions very seldom tend to lose back-to-back games 2 or 3 times, so, even once. They have this ability to play a game, haven't had a loss after winning so many games, and then go right back to winning. So that's normal. That's normally what happens with champions. And this dressing room will be winning. They know that feeling, that taste, that smell, that sense about winning, and that feeling they had of losing. They don't love it. They don't like it. They don't want it again, and they'll do everything to make sure they have a win today.
In your time at the club as well, Shaun, there was real highs, obviously promotions, but there was also real lows, literal relegations as well. As a player, how did you face those times? And was there somebody in the dressing room that would really be able to pick you up?
It's a bit of both. First of all, I mean, this guy here across, it was absolutely monumental in terms of, galvanizing the players and just getting us up and at it. It was absolutely huge, but I think there's also a part with regards to, as a player, I was one that always reflected on myself in terms of what I can do better. So if I had played badly, I was looking, where can I improve? What could I do better? And I think when you're at a place like that, looking at yourself within, this is where the improvement comes, because you're open to it. And this is something that we're seeing John Stones admit to, where we all were thinking, is John Stones' career still here? He's turned it around, and we're just like, his name has to be on the sheet every week. But yeah, Andy was absolutely monumental for us in the dressing room.
Yeah, I think when I look back to the sort of 98-99 year when we got promoted, Andy, and I think about how important you were in that year and you were to that team. Obviously, in the kind of December before that, we had plummeted in the second division to about 13th or 14th in the league. And then we went back to get promotion through the playoffs. And when I think about that era, I do think about you and how on the pitch, certainly, you always seemed to be the one that were grabbing them by the scruff of the neck and leading them forward. Did you feel that at the time?
Don't really know. I did what I do. Same the captain at Huddersfield, the captain at Blackpool, captain at Plymouth. So that was part of who I was. Part of how I carried myself, and then if the manager then when you go into a club sees that as that's the leader we need, then you might become the captain. But it was never any different than that. I was a school, as a young boy coming through at Plymouth, I was exactly the same. I was demanding of myself, and I think when your standards are incredibly high and your desire to win is great, I think that can reflect onto other people. And yes, we didn't need. We had. I was very, very lucky when I came into the Manchester City team that the characters that were in there, you talk about courage and bravery, but I think about the team at that time, Richard Edgill and Kevin Horlock and people like, of that, Dickie, I was a shouter and I was aggressive in my demeanour, but the way they carried themselves, nobody intimidated. You wouldn't think about Kevin Horlock, but nobody intimidated Kevin on the pitch. He'll stand up to anyone. He was incredibly brave and never pull out of anything. So those players were in there, but perhaps I had a voice to go with that same sort of characteristics.
Did you yourself ever feel that time when you were struggling or time of adversity and needed someone to help you get yourself out of that?
I think for me it was more of maybe a quiet talk. I think we always talk fondly of Willie Donaghy and what he did for all of us, and anyone who played in that period, 99 to 2000, those 2 promotions. Anyone who played that will always smile because of some of the stuff we were asked to do was. Out of the context of what we were used to. We were taken out of our comfort zone to try and things, just to open up our mind, really. And it was all about awareness. It was all about attention and a detail to the moment and being in that moment, And I always say, you know, in our contract as players, it says you train, you play, you turn up on this time, you do that, but it doesn't say you bring your attention, you bring your mind, you bring your focus, you know, and that was what Willie was huge on, you know, so that when we trained to the best. Then you can only train to the top of your ability if you're focused and you're in the moment. And Willie was always one who would speak softly after games and bring you around to, yes, football's huge, but the bigger picture as well of life and how football fits into that, and, you know, had a massive impact on me.
It seems that what you're talking about, Willie, there seems so interesting in terms of having that real variety of people in the changing rooms that could help you or pick you up when you're feeling differently. Did you have a similar experience as Andy, Shaun?
Yes, I would say. I mean, as he says, Will was absolutely brilliant he was brilliant with that. And for some players, you could take to it, and some players didn't really see to it. But I would say the majority did sort of take to it. And Will used to have us do things I think was just ahead of his time. We used to go, for a run, and everyone sticking together, and it would be a cold, blistery day, and we're sort of 10 minutes into the run, and then he'll just say, right, stop. And we're sort of panting like horses, and you can see, the breath coming out of our mouths, and he'll say, right, feel your feet on the ground, listen to the furthest sounds, to the furthest noises. Can you hear birds, or can you hear the car? And then he'll say, focus on a blade of grass. And I really just bought into all of it. I really did. So for me, Will was absolutely brilliant. And so what clubs don't tell you is that, which is all a part of psychology, that a lot of clubs use it today. And Will was essentially doing a bit of that. So the ones that were into it took it on board. Now, there were one or two that were, when we'll all sit there and we're in this focus moment, focusing on a blade of grass, and one of the lads will cut me on or something, and everybody would just burst out laughing. But, that also made the team spirit, stronger. But Will was, Joe Royle was absolutely brilliant, but Will Donahue was, for me, he played a huge part. And I actually then started to see a sports psychologist, and it just elevated my game, because I felt I was, having an adverse time in my initial sort of first year. But Will Donahue was absolutely brilliant. He was the one that had us go into the gym to warm up and stuff. But I couldn't speak highly enough of him.
I'm loving the sound of that, and it does, like you say, seem like
the
he
fart.
the concentrating on the grass before somebody did that. Yes, it sounds like he was ahead of his time.
He really was. Again, we used to do these things, and so. I found myself actually, before games, if I found my mind sort of, listening to the crowd and not being focused on here and now, I'd find myself for sort of 5 seconds, like just focused on that grass, and it would sort of bring me right, you're in the game, you're in the moment, what is your role, what are you doing, and so it's that sort of stuff, and so I then again saw sports psychologist Paul Connolly, and I just went like that, but. Again, clubs use psychologists, but they don't. No one goes around announcing it. I can tell you, hand on heart, I know for a fact City players will be using it. But you don't come into an interview and go, the reason I've scored 30 goals is because I'm using a sports psychologist that's really helping my game. It's just it's not talked about. But every club is out there got many players using it.
He was way ahead of his time, Shaun. Yeah. It was, and for me, as time went on, Willie didn't tell us why. He just wanted us to be open-minded to it. And eventually the penny dropped that it was for us to get in touch with what was going on inside our head. So, yes, listen to things around you, but what are you actually saying to yourself? And then as we got better at it, and you began to see the circling, some of them universal thoughts, you were able to see the negative stuff that you were saying to yourself and be able to stop it. And that was the key. It's continually having this drivel. 1 minute it's telling you how magnificent you are. The next minute it's telling you you're not good enough to play at this level. None of it's truthful, but when you can start to see it, and like I say, every player from that period got so much from it. And in the playoff final, Kevin Horlock spoke about feeling his feet on the floor while we were going to take the penalties that we talked about all season. It brought him into the moment just to feel his feet on the grass, and then his attention then came back here now rather than 80,000 people. If I miss this penalty, where do I go from here? We don't get promoted, blah, blah, blah. And he brought himself back into the moment. So it was it was a fantastic time, and I've taken so much of it myself going forward.
That's so fascinating, the idea that helped, what you've been doing all year helped him to be in the moment of the penalty as opposed to the occasion of the 80,000 people in Wembley. It's so fascinating. I also want to look back at a game against Southampton, obviously Southampton tonight, 6 p.m. kickoff. It might not be one that particularly sticks in your mind, but we're going to get Shaun's thoughts, because he, of course, scored, didn't he, always? So we're going to go back to Tuesday the 21st of September 1999, and we played Southampton in a cup tie. Now, the game ended 4-3. It was a super exciting game. Shaun, often on this programme, I mean, you scored so many goals. Often on this programme we go, what do you remember of this? But do you remember this one?
I do remember goals that I scored, yes. And in this game, I also remember some bad defending. But I'm going to sit here and deflect my defending on some of those goals and say, any chance of, keeping it down? You scored 3 goals away from him. Any danger, defence, eh? And Andy was in. You would have been. You were in playoffs in this game.
No,
it would have been a clean sheet for
That's
sure.
it. Clearly, he wasn't. Yeah.
I'll tell you what's great to see is Mark Kennedy crossing the ball and 2 strikers in the box for a cross. Yeah. You and Dickie, brilliant.
So the juicy info that I want from you on this, Shaun, is you score 2 of the 3 goals in this game, and Paul Dickoff scores the 3rd. So the front line have really done their jobs. As a player, how are you feeling the fact, well, you've done your job, you've scored 2 goals,
yes,
but your team has lost? How are you feeling?
Well, yeah, you do feel, you feel away from him, you've scored 2 goals, I've scored 2 goals, and as a strike force, we've scored 3 goals and not been able to look at his following up. Hey, there you go. Hey, got a few of them, loose happens. Yeah, you're always pleased if, forgot my train of thought there for a minute.
So you enjoy that goal, Shaun?
Well, I did, because here you go.
Okay.
You just know where the ball's.
One touch finish, Shaun.
You can't coach that. You can't coach that. Where it's going to fall. Yeah, I mean, this is brilliant for the fans. A long trip, and you score a few goals. I think this was me defending her. I turned the wrong way. Where's the ball? No, there it is in the back of the net. Yeah, sorry, lads. It really hurts as a forward when I'm defending, because I could actually say, and the times I defended, I could only remember 2 times in which my player scored goals. Was that one actually against Stoke, because I didn't like conceding goals as a forward coming back.
Yeah.
Well, they all count, Shaun, whether they're poaching ones like those or some of the crackers that we've seen, they all count. Now, another great occasion we've had at Southampton in the last few years. Of course, I won't need you to dig this one out of any of your memory banks. It was a few years ago when Gabriel Jesus scored that goal that got us to that momentous 100 points. Still, just looking back and thinking that we got 100 points in a season seems absolutely crazy. And of course, fittingly, it was against our opponents tonight, and it was down at St Mary's. Gabriel Jesus has been talking about the day and the celebrations. Here's just a little snippet for you now, and you'll be able to get the full interview on City Plus soon.
E, bom, eu tinha sentido o adutor na semana e, bom, pedi para ir pro jogo, que era o último jogo da temporada, e comecei no banco e depois pude entrar, bom, aí depois a história. Acho que foi a primeira vez que eu tirei a camisa comemorando um gol, eu acho. Se eu não me engano, acho que foi a primeira vez. E é a única, eu nunca tirei a camisa para comemorar gol.
Você nem viu, você já estava
Já estava sem a camisa e só queria festejar junto com meus companheiros.
Gabriel Jesus for a record-breaking goal!
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that back, because I haven't got my glasses on, so I couldn't read any of those subtitles, but it sounded wonderful. So I'll definitely be watching that full interview when it comes, and still gives me goosebumps to think about that occasion. So, as mentioned, I was so pleased that we've got Shaun and Andy on the show tonight, because they're both so super positive and optimistic. Now, we want to have a little look now at 5 things that we've got to be really, really positive and happy about, because I have to admit, across our fans' social medias these last few days, I have been seeing people feeling a little bit low and a little bit negative. Now, let's not forget, 1 loss in 22 games. And I think the perfect person to sum it up, Andy, 1 loss in 22 games. It's a great record, isn't it?
Yeah, move on very quickly. Phenomenal. And it's, again, I think it's the passion of fans. I think it's what it means to every single game. But, with it being a derby defeat, it's hard to take. And that's probably the echoes of that rather than, anything other than we're in an incredibly positive position. We're fighting on four fronts, but again, it's what football does to you. We've got a manager that Tony talks about the next game. And that's how important that game was. It now moves on to tonight. And I'm sure they'll want to pick up straight away.
Absolutely. So let's have a look now. 5 things that we've all got to be super positive and happy about. Now, number 1. And there we go. And as Andy said, 11 points clear at the top of the table. You see us sitting there on a huge 65 points. United in second place on 54. And third place, Leicester there on 53. 11 points clear, Sean. That's got to make you smile.
It is. I'm excited about that. Again, these guys have worked so hard to have this gap. But I think that what's on their mind is about increasing that, getting that back up to 14. They'll be very much looking forward to it.
And there we go, number 2, records matched. We've talked about it loads, haven't we? The unbeaten run, the win run, the records that appear to be we're getting knocked down left, right and centre this season. So let's see what other records we can get by the end, and number 3 there, and that would be a record I'd quite like to have, Andy. We're still playing on all 4 fronts.
Absolutely, yeah. I think if you ask anyone, I think the title and then the Champions League, anything under that is great. But, we're still fighting on 4 fronts, and I think that's testament again to the season, the size of the quality within the squad, and the performances this season over the last 3 or 4 months. It's not relented, and and tonight I do expect us to carry on that form.
And as you say, the quality in this squad there, a team full of flair. I mean, some of these players are in the absolute form of their lives. We're seeing Bernardo Silva there, Riyad Mahrez, Cancelo, Gundogan, players all over the pitch. Incredible form this season. We're blessed to be able to watch them so much. And number 5, Sean, in Pep we trust. It's always positive when you've got that man.
I'm telling you, in Pep we trust. I mean, I absolutely love watching this man at work and how he, manipulates certain things. We always talk about it, how Cancelo is a player in the midfield, a fullback playing in midfield, becomes a number 10. This and all these sort of things, and we've played the game for a number of years, watched the game for a number of years. We don't see this stuff. Midfielders playing number 9 better than number 9. So you just think, and then who's playing number 9? There's so many things to be happy for and excited about. I'm really excited with this team.
Yes, there really, really is. So I hope you're all feeling much more positive and excited now a few days on. And also, for me, it really helps to be sat on this sofa. I love my job very much, and I love it more when I am sat in between 2 absolute genuine legends. I have to pinch myself now and again to realise that I am sat in between Andy Morrison, who just one of the greatest leaders we've ever had at the club, and Shaun Goater, one of the greatest goal scorers we've ever had. And everybody knows how much I love Shaun Goater. And I am not the only one. You all love Shaun Goater too, which is why City Plus have gone and made a documentary about the man himself. It's going to be available soon, but we're going to give you a sneaky peek of it now.
I love the song, mate. It's got a lovely little beat to it.
Goater! Oh! Goater turn. Goater scored.
I think the thing that made Shaun Goater a fan favourite was his commitment.
It's a good pullback. It must be an equaliser. It's Shaun Goater.
This was the game when it all sort of came together.
Oh, lovely ball. Goater! Goater makes it 5.
Genuinely, he knew exactly where to be and when to be there. And that's just pure instinct.
Although Goater's got the ball here. Goater's run it back and he scored. That's amazing.
And the best way I could describe it is if Shaun went fishing, he wouldn't need a rod, the fish would jump in the net.
Goater, Benavia, oh wonderful, Goater! Oh.
Lovely ball through, Berkovic, Goater's in here! And makes it 3-1! It's Shaun Goater again!
Just feed the goat and he will score. That'll be coming very soon to City Plus as part of the incredible range of sort of mini documentaries that we have on City Plus. If you're not a member, if you're not signed up, I can highly recommend it. It's super cheap and you get all of these incredible documentaries, including Feed the Goat, which will be coming very, very soon. And Shaun, just to kind of celebrate that, we asked you to bring in some photos this evening that we could kind of have a look at you growing up through the ages and share some of the sort of special moments. So we're going to have a look at some of those photos now, and we'd love to sort of hear your thoughts, why you chose these ones specifically, and kind of what's going on.
Well, this was me when I was 12 years old. North Village Community Club, my boyhood club. Some really young, talented players there. Casey brothers, my best mate David Bascom. We grew up playing together. His brother was the best footballer in Bermuda, so he was somebody I looked up to.
Until you, Shaun.
Well, actually, in my eyes, he was awesome. Again, I was just, 12-year-old, but this is how we used to be. We used to be like a team of 11, and if you got injured, we learned how to play with 10 men. So the knowledge of understanding of the game sort of started early in terms of when you play. At this age here, and you'd be a man short or something like that, or someone's injured. What about you, Andy? You have those occasions?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I'm just looking at the pitch in the background, where you'd have grown up playing your football. And, if you can master a football on them pitches, of course, I went to Antigua and Barbuda coaching the national team back in 2010, and the pitches were, they certainly weren't what we'll be seeing tonight.
No.
So the players had a very good touch, learnt the game very quickly.
Yeah, you make a good point, because playing in those pitches, you actually learn to watch the ball all the way to your foot. So once I came over here, and it was like a bowling green, the ball was 10 yards from me, and I'm looking for my pass, because I'm like, this ball's really smooth to me. I ain't got to look at the ball. So it was brilliant. This is actually at the National Stadium. I think we played Jamaica. Our sellout crowd in Bermuda was like 5,000. So you can imagine when I came over here and started playing in front of sort of like 10,000 and 12,000, each level was exciting.
How old were you on that picture, do you think?
I was about 22, 23. Look at that. Look. Hey, Andy, you remember that like, training? Hey, where's the defender? I'm just thinking, where's the defender? I've done a Gunda one, mate. I've ghosted in there.
And how many games did you play for your national team, Shaun?
36, scoring 32 goals. I'm going to say that again because Andy don't believe me. 36 games and 32 goals. Mate, I was frightened, mate.
I can only talk about Shaun as being a colleague and a great bloke. I can't really talk about a goal scorer because he played against me on 5 occasions and he never scored a goal. He never scored against me, and he cannot accept it.
Google it.
Andy keeps saying he's done his research on it as well. So is anybody at home that knows any different to that? Shaun Goater never scored against Andy Morrison, but he scored against everybody else.
Everyone else, yeah.
Let's have a look at more of these pictures, Shaun.
Yeah, I was 18. I'm the third one from the left-hand side. At this time, I was actually just waiting on my work permit to come through to come over here to England. So again, there's the pitch there. We won that game. That was actually a final at a club team.
Short shorts as well there.
Yeah, very short. That was the style back then. Some really good footballers, local footballers there. But this team here actually has the most professional players to go play outside of England. Outside of Bermuda. North Village Community Club. We've had players obviously play in England and 1 or 2 over in America as well. So it's got a good history. A brilliant community club.
So that's like 18-year-old Shaun Goater there. And then what about now? Your shorts have got bigger on this one. How old are you there, Shaun?
Yeah, I got these to grow into. I think this year was around 21, 22. My best mate again, David Bascom. We guys put on a football camp, and this was even through my time of playing in the city. So every year in the summer, I used to go back to Bermuda and put on free camps to the Bermuda kids. And actually, for 3 years, I had taken Men City Academy across to Bermuda, and the academy kids used to coach kids their age. So it was a great, people like Micah, Bradley Ray Phillips, Casper Schmeichel, all these players, Nada Manua, went to Bermuda to in the camps that I put on and used to coach young kids. So it was brilliant.
And is this from one of the camps?
Yes, this was during the week of it. On the left is actually a lad named Mark Pulisic. We all know his son, who actually plays for Chelsea. He used to play indoor soccer with again, David Bascom on the far right. Kyle Lightbourne is to my left there in the photo. He played for Stoke, Coventry, Walsall, a number of clubs. But that's Pulisic's father there. That's his actual brother as well, and his sister. But he actually didn't come in the photo because he came towards the end of the camp. And now he's here doing brilliant with Chelsea. So it's amazing years ago how the football world, how it's so connected.
Absolutely. Love seeing them. I cannot wait to watch the documentary that's on City Plus. So Feed the Goat, you'll be able to get that on City Plus soon. Now, I just need to take a quick minute to make a little bit of a confession and apologise to the gentleman and several other people. So, as you'll know, our official chocolate partner is Cadbury's. So, our official chocolate partner, Cadbury's, were very kind to send me in the post last week a very lovely bar of chocolate. And it was quite large and it came in a lovely box. And what was so special about it is it was celebrating Micah Richards, and they have sort of put in, using some wonderful technology, Micah Richards' face onto a bar of chocolate. And I thought, oh, isn't this lovely? Isn't this very, very kind of Cadbury's to send me this bar? It's Find a Legend, Micah Richards in this bar of chocolate. And I put a little video of it on my social media and was very excited. And when I say it was a fairly large bar of chocolate, if I'm being honest, it was about this big. So I got that in the post. So this is me getting it in the post, about this big. It was lovely. You can see it now. It's my kitchen table.
In the post this morning. Very exciting. So I opened it up like this. Oh, what's this? And ta-da! It's Micah Richards on a giant bar of chocolate. Just what every girl dreams of.
And I thought, how nice of Cadbury's for sending me this delicious dairy milk. And Micah's face was kind of looking at me and looking all sort of lovely. And I just thought, well, I'm going to have one bar, one square. And then that led to 2 squares. And then that led to 3 squares. And then that led to me eating the entire bar on Friday night. Little did I know that I got a call from producer Tom this morning saying, don't forget to bring your Cadbury's chocolate into work today, because I was supposed to show it on the show and share it with Sean and Andy. So I'm sorry, gents. What I did is I stopped at the shop on the way here and got you this little bar of dairy milk.
Oh.
Little bar of dairy milk to say sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Dairy Micah. I don't know about you, Andy. I love a bit of chocolate, and I'm a bit disappointed that it looks like we got about 2 or 3 squares. What you reckon?
I'm speechless that that Nat was that selfish. She had it all on her own and didn't want to share it. You know, it's a team effort here, but that's a lovely gesture. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I do. Part of me wants to really have a go, but you're too nice, because we do come in here and often, every now and again, Natalie Pike is bringing in some sweets and say, "Here you are, guys," and I'm so I can't actually. I have to say it's not a problem at all, Nats.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that, because I felt horrendously guilty when Tom phoned me, but it was delicious and there was basically nothing I could do about it. So, yes, my confession, Natalie's confession time over. Now, the game is really not long away now. We can hear Alex speaking now to the stadium. We are lucky enough to be inside the stadium tonight. So, kickoff is about 15 minutes or less away for tonight's 6 p.m. game against Southampton. So, it's at this point on the show that you'll know by now that we love to celebrate our incredible supporters, and we have supporters all around the world, and we love you all. And tonight we're celebrating a supporters club that really is on the other side of the world. So a big shout out to all of our supporters in Chile, because I'm sure you're up early or late or whatever the time difference is watching the Blues tonight. Here it is, the official supporters club from Chile.
Actualmente vivo en Santiago de Chile y mi fanatismo por Manchester City nació en el año 2009. Como anécdota, para el título del año 2013-2014 de la mano de Pellegrini, reunimos a 60 hinchas en un local llamado Sport Café, en el cual llegó la televisión y los periodistas a entrevistarnos a cada uno, y terminando la celebración en el centro de Santiago. Dejo invitado a cada seguidor, a cada fanático de cada hincha de Manchester City, a seguir apoyando al equipo y seguir construyendo nuestra linda historia. Adelante, estudios.
And I imagine that Paul Dickoff will be getting himself over to that Chile supporters club very soon. And what a beautiful country. Producer Tom did loads of Chile research today. Sounds like he really enjoyed it. And they have a huge population of penguins over there. The world's driest desert and the world's largest swimming pool in Chile as well. So thank you so much to all of our fans over in Chile. And of course, we always as well do a junior citizen of the match. And I think maybe we might set this one up tonight, to be honest, because we had the supporters club from Chile and our junior citizen fan of the match is Lily.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily. I am 11 years old and I'm from Stockport. My favourite player is Phil Foden and I am the junior citizen of the match for tonight's game against Southampton. Come on, City.
So supporters club from Chile and Lily from Stockport. Just shows you the vast variety of fans that we have. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight. The time as well got away from me. I said 15 minutes, but it's actually about 7 minutes till kick-off. Wow. So I'm just going to quickly give you a run through of the team again in case you haven't had a chance to see our starting 11 for tonight. So our starting 11 in goal is Edison. And then we have a back four of Walker, Diaz, Laporte and Zinchenko. Looking into midfield there is Fernandinho, Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Foden and Mahrez. So that is our starting 11 for tonight's game. If that's the first time you're seeing that tonight, welcome. Hello. That is our starting 11 for tonight. Now, this is the point we usually do Guess the Blue as well, but as you just gathered, the time has really got away from me. So we're going to be doing Guess the Blue at half-time. And as you'll know, I keep challenging producer Tom to make it a little bit more difficult. So come back to us at half-time and we'll see how we get along. Andy can't wait. Andy's chomping at the bit to have a go at that because he's really, really good at it. But with 6 minutes till kick-off, Sean, just get some sort of final thoughts ahead of the game tonight. What sort of game are you expecting?
Well, there's so many options that Pep have. You know, when I look at the back line in terms of Walker, Diaz, Laporte and Zinchenko, we noticed Zinchenko could go inside into the midfield and they become a back three with Walker, Diaz and Laporte. He has that option. He has the option where Fernandinho could actually drop into the two centre halves and push the fullbacks up high and wide, and the wide players going into pockets. So there's so many different options we've seen Pep do. So I'm intrigued to see how we go and we break down the Southampton team. But I anticipate a lot of energy because Bernardo, as Andy said, Bernardo coming and bringing the energy, Foden bringing the energy. I would like to see a bright start, and I anticipate that.
Yeah, it should be an exciting game, hopefully, Andy.
Yeah, listen, that clean sheet. I'm 2 or 3 goals and just a nice comfy evening and 14 points clear at the end of the night will be terrific.
I'm going to push you
Dairy
then
milk
for
chocolate.
14 points clear and some chocolate for the gents. I need no more. Andy, I'm going to push you for a prediction there. You say 2 or 3 in a clean sheet. What are you going for?
I always go for both teams to score and City win, but tonight I'm going to go for the clean sheet. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. 2-0.
Sean, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm actually thinking 3-1 City. I hope I'm wrong in the point that I hope Andy's right, that is a 2-0, because get back to that clean sheets, that base, and then going on from there. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 City win.
3-1, 2-0. I'm going to go 3-0. I always feel like I've got to do a different score to the gents. So, thank you so much for joining us on We're Not Really Here this evening. We will, as always, be back at half-time for some instant analysis, and then again at full-time to get the thoughts of the gents. And we'll be doing Mystery Blue at half-time and reading out some of your tweets. So you can get them in by using the hashtag WNRH. And if you aren't watching the game live on television tonight, then you need to get yourselves onto the Manchester City app, where you can get exclusive commentary from the wonderful Alistair Mann. Big City fan, Alistair Mann, so it is the best place to get your commentary. So thank you for joining us this evening. Enjoy the game, and we'll be back at half-time.